at Fox River Valley Public Library District.info no later than 12 p.m. on Tuesday, September 15th, and will receive an online access to the meeting. If you do not have electronic access and would like to make a public statement, you can call the library at 847-228-3661 before 5 p.m. on Tuesday, September 15th, and leave a message indicating that you would like your message to be read into the record during the public comment section of the meeting. A recording of this meeting will be available on the library's website by Friday, September 25th. Okay, having said that, I would like to call to order the meeting of the Fox River Valley Public Library District Board of Trustees meeting of September 15th, 2020 at 7:04 p.m. Can we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody. Nikki, could we have a roll call, please?
Dave is absent. Chris?
Present.
Mike?
Present.
Brian?
Here.
Nikki is here. Christina?
Here.
And Richard?
Here. Okay. As you know, in this month every year, we have a budget and appropriation hearing. So I would like to move to that now. I would like a motion to adjourn to the budget and appropriation hearing. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Got a second.
All right, we'll do Brian. Karen, we'll do Brian as motion made by, and Michael second.
Got it.
Okay, may we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Dave, absent. Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Nikki, yes. Christina?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes. Okay, we are now adjourned from the regular meeting, and I would like to call to order.
At what time, Richard?
Oh, it is 7:06. I'd like to call to order the Fox River Valley Public Library District Budget and Appropriation Hearing at 7:07 on September 15th, 2020. May we have a roll call to see who's present, please?
Dave is absent. Chris?
Present.
Mike?
Still here.
Brian?
Here.
Nikki here. Christina?
Here.
And Richard?
Here. Okay. The board recognizes its responsibility to provide an opportunity for anyone wishing to comment at this budget and appropriation hearing to do so. Due to the current public health concerns, the September 15th hearing will be done electronically. Any person viewing the meeting online and/or wishing to comment will be accommodated in accordance with the public policy I read a few moments ago. Citizens will not be requested to sign in to comment. Do we have anyone from the public who is online with us, who may be online with us, who would like to comment about the budget and appropriation? I hear no one. Is there anyone on the telephone dialed in that would like to make a comment to the board about the appropriation, the budget and appropriation hearing?
We had no phone messages.
I hear none. Lauren, was there anyone who left a message that they would like read into the record?
No, they didn't.
No, so there's no messages.
Correct.
Okay, hearing no one here, no comments, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn out of the budget and appropriation hearing in order to return to our regular meeting. May I have such a motion, please?
Mike Tennis, so move.
Nikki,
Second, please.
Nikki, will second.
Okay. May we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Dave is absent. Chris,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Nikki, yes. Christina,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes. Okay, we are adjourned at 7:09. Now I'd like to call the Fox River Valley Public Library District Board of Trustees meeting back into session at, call it 7:10. May we have another roll call vote, please?
Dave is still absent. Chris, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Mike,
Here.
Brian,
Here.
Nikki is here. Christina
Here.
and Richard.
Here. Well, at
Okay, we
least
didn't
know
lose anybody.
who's here. No question about who's here. Okay. President's report. I'd just like to briefly go over the upcoming April election. As you know, there are going to be 4
Before you
seats.
do that, Richard, do you have to ask for public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you,
Sorry.
Nikki. I need you to keep me on course here.
That's Karen. It's all Karen. She keeps me on course, so I'm keeping.
Well, thanks to everybody.
Yeah.
In accordance with our board policy, which I read just a moment ago, we invite members of the public to address the board on any issue that they would like to speak on. Is there anyone electronically who's viewing the meeting that would like to speak? Is there anyone on the telephone who is listening to the meeting that would like to speak? Lauren, was there anyone that left any messages that they would like read into the record?
No.
Okay, so now we can move on to the president's report. Again, I'd just like to briefly go over the upcoming April election. We will have 4 trustee spots open for election. There will be 3 4-year terms and 1 2-year term. The 2-year term is the one that Dave now has. Since he was appointed, this election would be just for a 2-year term to get us back into the regular cycle that we would normally have. The first date to circulate nominating petitions is September 22nd. The first day to file completed petitions and the other necessary documents is December 14th. We've been watching carefully, and there have been no changes to the personal signature requirements for the petitions that have been announced. So that's still a requirement. And just as a point of notice, that the election, or the notice of the election, has been posted in our newsletter, which goes out to every resident address in the district. That's approximately 25,000 newsletters that have announced the election coming up. It's also been posted in the e-newsletter, which goes to card holders, and and there's about approximately 10,000 of those that have gone out. We'll be having press releases coming out very shortly, again announcing that the election is upcoming. So we're trying to get the word out to the public so that we can, so anyone who might be interested will know that it is coming. Also, if for any trustees that are running for re-election, please get together with Karen and she can make arrangements to get the nominating packets, that election packet she always puts together so well, can arrange to get. Does anybody have any questions or anything on the upcoming election?
So to reiterate, the packets are available starting September 22nd. Was that what I heard? And then
Karen, why don't you jump in?
Sure. September 22nd is the first day that you can circulate the nominating petitions. I have the packets ready to go. I'll be emailing the 4 trustees who are up for election in April tomorrow, and we'll work out a time. You will have an option. I can either deliver it to you personally, or else if you are coming to the library for any other reason, I'm happy to make arrangements to have it available for you at that time. So we can work that all out via email.
And then the first day that you can submit is December 14th.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
And all that information is detailed in the packet. You'll have hopefully everything that you need.
Any other questions?
Well, Chris, will we know
Yes,
if
Chris.
any of the current trustees eventually make up their mind? Because that would be an indication to me as to whether or not I'd want to recommend somebody. Does that make sense?
You're trying to find out if current trustees are not.
Right. I mean, I kind of like don't want to invite people to run against my current board members, I guess is what I'm saying.
One thing I would say, and Richard and I talked about this earlier, is we need diversity. We really need some diversity.
We definitely do. And actually, one of the people I'm thinking of would bring that to the table. But I also, like I said, don't want to vote out or encourage somebody to run against a current board member either.
Well, of course, it's open to, those that meet the requirements. So anybody can throw their hat in the ring if they would like. And it's up to each board member whether they want to file for re-election or not. So anyway, those are the dates, and we'll just go from there. That's all I've got. How about let's move on to the director's report. Lauren?
Super. All right, we're going to start with a presentation from Carrie Carroll, our Account Services Manager, and Kirsten Finneran, our Public Relations Manager, and Karen Nelson, our Purchasing, Acquisitions, and Technical Services Managers, on a new circulating product that we're very excited about.
All right, I am going to attempt to share. So hopefully everybody is seeing DVD binge boxes right now.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Beginning last year, our DVD vendor, Midwest Tape, created collections of DVDs they dubbed binge boxes. These boxes followed a specific theme and had between 4 and 6 DVDs in the collection. But this concept is not new. Libraries have already been doing this in the past. They were usually housed in big plastic bins containing already cataloged DVDs. Patrons would check them out individually, but the size of the containers make it difficult to find adequate shelf space for them, and their size also makes it difficult to easily return them in the book drop. So great idea, but it could have been better. Enter Midwest Tape and their take on the Binge box. Exact same concept, but in a convenient-sized case with the images and the summaries of all of the movies inside. And it's pre-cataloged to boot, so patrons could search the online catalog for Binge boxes and browse the titles from home instead of only seeing them in person. As I was going over these last year to make our initial collection, I brought it to the attention of the management team that these existed, and the unanimous decision for all of us was these boxes were fine, but our staff could do way, way better than what Midwest Tape had came up with. So I presented a challenge to the staff. Build a better Binge box. We were going to model our Binge boxes off the ones Midwest Tape had created, small DVD cases, one checkout for all of the movies, searchable via the online catalog, and designed for easy browsing on the shelves within the existing DVD collection. This finished project would take a collaborative effort. As Lauren mentioned, later on in the presentation, Karin's going to discuss her procedures for creating the individual item records so that they would display in the online catalog, like the ones purchased from Midwest Tape. And Kirsten will discuss her process for creating the DVD jacket, highlighting both the chosen titles and the staff who selected them. But before we get to them, I want to talk to you guys about the competition because that was the meat of it. So back at, I believe, the January all-staff meeting, I challenged them to pick 4 to 6 DVDs that followed a theme, and they had to just give that collection a name, just like the Midwest Tape ones. They had around 3 weeks to submit their ideas to me, and then after the submission window was closed, staff would then vote on their favorite boxes. Initially, we were hoping to select 10 to add to our collection, and there was no limit to how many submissions staff could make, and they could select any movies that they wished. As long as it was available on DVD, it was fair game, and it did not have to be anything that we currently owned. So we kind of jumped over those restrictions those bigger Binge boxes had. Competitions are not everybody's bag, and creating themed DVD collections can be hard. Personally, I know nothing about movies at all, other than Harry Potter. Those are movies. I could make a Binge box out of those. That's easy. But beyond that, nothing. So we were hoping we could get a nice submission pool to select those 10 from. But of course, our staff is amazing. They crushed it. And we had over 100 submissions from staff with almost 0 duplications, which I cannot emphasize enough how astounding that really is. Like, the creativity was amazing. 2 of the staff members alone made up half of the submissions. Like, that's no lie. 2 of them, Darla and Pats and Taylor and ATS, they brought their A game for this. So it was amazing. But because we had so many submissions, we bumped up the number of winners to 20 because we wanted to add as many as possible. I'm not going to go through all 100 plus submissions because that would be insane. But I did want to give you a taste of just what they looked like, in addition to obviously the winners. So I'm just going to go through them really quick. We had people submit actor and actress based Binge boxes, Christian Bale, Robin Williams, classical actors like Meryl Streep, less classical actors like Nicolas Cage involved in there. Boxes focusing on directors or specific studios, Guillermo del Toro, Christopher Nolan, Pixar, Hallmark, that kind of thing. Movie franchises, definitely, I won't say the easiest, but something that folks could gravitate towards and be like, yeah, I want to check out the first 6 Star Wars movies all at once. Why not? Pirates of the Caribbean, James Bond, Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit. And then everything else that doesn't really have an easily identifiable category. Sad in Space, is that your thing? You want to do hip hop hooray movies? That's cool. A personal favorite, because I didn't watch Star Wars, I did not make that one, but that one speaks to me very deeply. So like I said, our staff did an amazing job. I was the one who got to see all these submissions as they came in, so I was just tickled when I finally got to put the ballot together and share with everybody on staff. These are the winners. We won't float on this too long. Kirsten earlier today posted a blog to the library's website, a blog post to the library's website that highlights the winners and the titles that are in them. So definitely go read that blog post if you haven't already. And just from looking at the titles, you can see once again what variety. Like some of them you can get like Pixar picks for sure. I already said it, but Sad in Space, like what is Sad in Space? And I love that. That's Heather's, as you can see, but it makes me laugh, and a lot of them make me laugh a bunch. But now I'm going to turn it over to Karin, who's going to talk a little bit more about the acquisition and the cataloging of all of these binge boxes.
Thanks, Carrie. I'm excited to talk about how I helped with this fun project and this special collection for our patrons. The majority of the DVDs for the staff created binge boxes were actually purchased from our usual AV material provider, Midwest Tape. And typically our music CDs, our DVDs, and our Blu-rays have physically processed done for us with the jackets and barcodes and other parts of the covers. But before we ordered these sets, I had the company create a non-processing account since we were going to do all the physical processing and artwork for the covers. There were a number of DVD titles that they didn't actually own, so we were able to purchase them from Amazon or Half Price Books. I included the pricing for each DVD in the actual bibliographic record, as well as the total set price in the specific item record. And I needed to create a catalog record for each special binge box so that people could find it in the catalog. So I would need various access points in the record, and I needed to find those from the regular DVDs that we already had in the catalog. So I was able to go through, as you saw, how many sets there were, and there's 4 to 6 titles in each set. I went through all those records to copy subject headings, and then also what's called genre headings, such as like action and adventure films, sports films, comedy films, anime, etc., from those current records. So I also wanted to find access points for some of the major actors or even voice actors, depending on what type of titles they were, or even some director or screenwriter names, because we wanted to include those for people for searching. And the best way to probably try to find all these binge box sets is if you actually, in our catalog, you can type in binge box, and then that will bring them up. Or today I had CCS create a direct PowerPoint or PowerPack link, and you can see that from our main catalog page to the left, and you can click on that, and then you get to see all the titles that we have in our binge box sets. So now I'll turn the presentation over to Kirsten.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks a lot, Karin. I'd like to begin by first actually thanking Karin for taking the time to gather all of the DVD covers and movie descriptions and organize them into folders for each binge box. I'm sure this was a very time-consuming process, and I appreciate that it was all ready and waiting for me when it was time to create the covers. The cover design, as Carrie mentioned, was modeled after the covers that Midwest Tape already created, so that we could blend in with some of the, we've got about 4 other binge boxes already, so we wanted to match up with them. But what sets our binge box apart is the addition of FRV PLD Staff Edition, which you can see in the red lettering there. We added, this box was curated for you, as well as the staff member's photo, name, and department, which gives a little glimpse into the personalities of our staff, resulting in a special, friendly feel, which is what we strive for at the Fox River Valley Public Library District. We did go ahead and add the rating and runtime of the movies to the descriptions on the back, since many people take this into consideration when choosing a movie. And this fillable template allows us to create future staff curated boxes and perhaps even run a contest for our patrons. So far we've created eye-catching displays at both the Dundee Library and the Randall Oaks Library. We've got a blog post going, as Karen mentioned, and I've created links to each of the separate binge boxes in that catalog so people can just click on it and place a hold if they desire. And we've also got a video going on Facebook right now. Tomorrow, the binge boxes will be featured in our weekly e-newsletter, and we'll follow that up with a tweet and an Instagram post. So that's it for me. Back to you, Carrie.
Thank you. And this is just a picture of some. We wanted to take a picture as soon as we had some available. There are 20, as Kirsten mentioned. They are housed at both Randall Oaks and the Dundee libraries. They float just like the regular DVD collection, giving both library users equal chances to kind of find them on the shelf as they're browsing. They are shelved right next to the regular DVDs, making them super easy to find. And as Kirsten mentioned, we kind of laid the groundwork for future competitions. We did the hard work, and that's all out of the way. But if we wanted to open this up to the public, we have, I mean, that was last January. We've had some new staff join who didn't get to participate in the initial competition, who I'm sure also have fantastic ideas. We have the 80+ options that we did not get to select from the initial competition that we could also add. And the nice thing about this is you can kind of give weirder movies a chance to see the light of day, if you want to think of it like that. Something that might not circulate on its own, if it's paired with some similarly themed DVDs, people might really gravitate towards it. So I just think this whole competition was incredibly enjoyable. Staff really gravitated towards it. They had fun making them, they had fun voting for them. The confidence levels were super high. Multiple submissions were like, these are the winners, here you go. So I appreciated everybody's enthusiasm for it. And it made us feel closer as a library, because it was all departments, somebody who might not be in the public services, somebody who might never deal with the DVDs. It was great. I loved getting to head that, and I hope we get to do one again in the future, either with staff or with the public. Does anybody have any questions for myself, Karen, or Kirsten?
Yeah, Carrie, this is Richard. What's the length of the loans for these?
So normally they would just be 1 week with the 2 renewals for a week. They're under just the standard blanket of DVD renewals. But because of COVID-19, we have extended the loan periods for pretty much everything to 6 weeks through the rest of 2020. So movie a week right now, you could go through those and be a little more leisurely.
Sure. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. I loved hearing about that. I'm always amazed by staff. They're just, the creativity was fantastic. So if you get a chance, I highly recommend board members, you come in and take a look at them. You will laugh out loud like the rest of us did with some of the titles and what was put in there. So
I was laughing, and like there's a couple times I was like, you know, I think these are fantastic. I love the creativity. I love what you guys, how you all came together as a team. I think it's fantastic.
And Jason had mentioned it during management team when we were discussing these as well, but Kirsten made ours look way better than the Midwest tape ones. They are so crisp and just
professional.
Yes, they look.
And the personalization, right? Yes. Who had recommended it? That touchstone between staff and the public was, I love that. Just love that. Yeah. Cool.
So I don't have a question, just a compliment also is like
I don't know how many times you guys said the word fun in that presentation. And so I think that's cool because it's like time. I don't feel like I've been having a lot of fun lately. So it was neat to hear that you guys did something that y'all really, really enjoyed. So yeah, it's great to hear.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
So next on my director's report, I have a couple of things I want to go over. First, on my board report, I had a mistake on there. I had a note that we received our entire PPRT, and that was a typo. That we received our entire per capita grant, not PPRT. We received PPRT 8 times a year. Per capita comes as one lump check from the state, so that's what we received. So yeah, but we received the full amount, so that was good news. The second thing I want to mention, Richard had forwarded the email that I had sent to him from my conversation with Dave Peterson yesterday. So I am breathing a heck of a lot easier now. So we can renew the Park District lease for an additional 5 years. They're tacking that on to the 2022 timeframe. So we have, we can stay there through 2027. Dave is, this would need to be approved by their board, but Dave has asked that we send a letter to the Park District Board, and then they can decide how they're going to do it. Well, you know, we'll need to work out sort of terms of it. I would definitely like to have the similar terms to what we've had in the 2017 to 2022 timeframe, so that we're paying 6 months of rent at one block, and we can terminate the lease at any time in there. So we're not locked into an additional 5 years. So we would have some flexibility if the right building comes up in 2024, but then we could vacate that lease and move on. So I was very happy with that.
So Lauren, it's Brian. No, I was really glad to see that note today as well. Because I was confused though in reading your director's report here. The way it was positioned was almost like we had given them some all or nothing thing that we wanted to rent the entire lower level or else we weren't interested or something. So I didn't quite know how to read this before. I mean, I'm rereading it now. It said, asked if to be interested in leasing additional space, perhaps the entire lower level. Mm-hmm. And, okay, but I mean, I guess like it read to me as if we weren't interested in continuing in the current space. And I was like, I don't remember ever discussing that we needed more space or else we weren't interested.
Well, this was an idea that I talked about with Richard. We were floating additional ideas.
Yeah, actually, let me jump in here. Yeah, this occurred to me not too long ago when I was went into the Randall Oaks. And as I walked through, I thought, you know, is it possible if this Dominic's doesn't work out, would it be possible to maybe get some additional space from the Park District? So I got into a discussion with Laura. I said, why don't you just ask them if you know, they've got that daycare center or preschool right in back of our part of the library, and I thought, wouldn't that make a great kids library? And so we just started talking about it, and I said, why don't you just ask them if they would be amenable to us as an alternative to the Dominic site, which at that point wasn't looking very good. And they came back and said, no, we're not interested in getting you any more space. But it was never our intention for it to be you know, one thing or nothing.
Okay.
It was just as an option.
That was the conversation that happened more than a month ago. That was yeah, when things were going rough with the negotiations before the August board meeting. I'd had that conversation with Park District. And then when we were looking at the cleaning service, you know, the first thing we asked was if Randall Oak staff would be interested in cleaning the library. And to be candid, their response was, no, we thought you were moving out. So every indication that I had gotten was this was not going to be extended. So after the August board meeting where it was determined that we weren't moving forward with the Dominics, and I had to regroup and think about what our options were going to be in the future. And so I needed a definite answer from the Park District, and to be frank, I didn't want to put Dave in the position of having something in writing. I never want to make the Park District like a bad guy in this. They've been an outstanding partner. So I called him yesterday and said, the first box I need to check in investigating the future is, can we just stay here? And he said that while they do have plans for the space, they don't have a compelling reason to start utilizing those plans in the immediate future. And so they would be comfortable extending the space. So our problem is solved then. I do not need to worry about 2022 now.
No, that's really good to hear. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So with that immediate concern assuaged, we can focus on the Dundee remodel. So we have met with Joe Huberty and talked about adjacencies of how a reconfiguration would look. We've got a surveyor is going to do the property and a geotechnical firm because the ground on the west side of the building is sinking. I want to make sure that we don't have any structural issues there. And Heather and I met with the two, Joe and Rachel, the other architect that's working on it, to look at some very, very preliminary plans, get some feedback. Then they'll talk to management team and get some feedback, and then ultimately have several options to present to the board for consideration with different sort of price points. We had talked about keeping the existing footprint and not extending beyond that because it's, pricier. A build out is certainly a lot pricier. But we can also look at, because we definitely need a drive up window. COVID has taught us we all need a drive up window. And if we wanted to have the alcove extended out as well, that would add a little bit of square footage, which is beneficial, but would be a little bit pricier. So all those are the kind of options that'll be presented to the board for you to decide how you want to move forward. So that will happen October, kind of November time frame. And so it'll be nice to be able to focus on that for, the ways, again, number one, to improve the accessibility into this building. So, and absorb the township space. They moved down in 2013. So only 8 years later, we can look at reconfiguring that space.
Well, it's good we're doing it now.
Okay. Any questions there? And are there any questions about my written director's report?
I have one.
I found it
one
fascinating.
The history.
Yeah.
All those failed attempts. It was really hard. It was discouraging. Yeah.
It is.
Mike here. What surprised me was the age of the building. I didn't realize it went back to 1975. I moved into the area in 1987, August of 87, and I was used to the Arlington Heights Library. And so I took my 2 young daughters at the time, and we went over to visit the library, and the shelves, and this is August of 1987, and the shelves were bare. There were hardly anything. The collection was so small, I couldn't believe it. And so I thought, well, it's a new building and they'll be, building up the collection. So I thought the building was only a couple years old.
And all the plans over the years for different libraries that didn't come to be. I mean, it was, just a story of one plan after another, and then that one, I was surprised. Yeah. But we're going to include that on library's website so that other people that, you know, because people always say, well, when was the last time you had a tax increase? Well, you know, to build a building, never. We've never passed a tax referendum. So hopefully we will. We just today at our management team where we're doing we've been working on a book together called Be a Great Boss, 52 exercises that we complete on our own and then get together and discuss. And today we're just about done. We were on week 51 today. And it said, right, if you were to, what would the first sentence of your obituary, what would you want it to look like as your greatest accomplishment? And I said, I was library director of the 7th largest library district in Illinois, and we passed the first tax referendum in 150 years. That is what I want my obituary to look like. So I may be around here for another 25 or 50 until it happens, but damn it, I'm gonna do it. So that's where we're at. All right. If there's nothing else on the director's report, are there any questions about the department reports or the dashboard?
I would just like to congratulate the entire staff for that outstanding performance for summer lunches. What something? Did I read that right? There were 12,000 summer lunches between the breakfast and lunches served.
12,000.
Isn't that an amazing number?
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
A giant team
Valley
effort.
Public Library District.
Special shout out to Kirsten and Sherry and Ruben. They got in that library van and drove those meals over to Foxview and drove those meals over to Meadowdale. Standing outside in 95-degree heat. It was a supreme effort. Yeah. And everyone pitched in. Management team, we had multiple site supervisors working Dundee, and yeah, it was something else. Yeah.
It truly was a group effort.
I think it's amazing too. We're really offering cold dinners. Nikki and I both saw that, and then we posted it right away on our Facebook pages. You know, it never ceases to amaze me what you guys put together to service our community. And I think there's been an excellent read of our community needs. And I think in the past, sometimes some of our needier neighborhoods were just left out. And you guys come up with the best ideas and ideas that really service those people in those needier areas, whether it be English language or whether it be meals or materials or whatever. I can't be more proud of our library.
Yeah, Monica's led this cold suppers. We're very, very happy for that. And so to offer cold suppers, we removed the refrigerator to, hear me, I'm getting an echo right now. Okay, so we moved the refrigerator into the children's department so that they can be stored there. And talking about the refrigerator reminds me of the CARES Act reimbursement. I want to point out that the Kane County Board did approve library districts for CARES Act reimbursement, and I completed our application yesterday. We are requesting almost $50,000 in reimbursements, some of which is money we've already spent. We actually had to do 2 applications, one for our money already spent through the end of August, and one for money that you would like to spend from now until the end of December. So things that we would like to do, we'd like to buy more hotspots so that we can provide virtual distance learning to students that don't have internet access at home. We are wanting to purchase 2 antennas to dramatically increase the Wi-Fi signal in the parking lot, one on the north side of the Dundee Library, one on the south.
I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, thrilled for that. And I also want to point out it's textbook coverage for this Federal CARES Act funding. All the Randall Oaks cleaning expenses should be covered. They are non-budgeted expenses and they are necessary solely due to COVID. So that was literally the example that the county gave of what is a reimbursable expense, is having to hire a cleaning service for your facility. So I am hopeful that we will see all that money back.
Lauren, when you started talking about that, I was about to jump in and comment about the department report when I read Karen Nelson setting up a spreadsheet from the get-go to track the supplies. And I thought, that's exactly what needed to be done. I was so delighted. Chris, you get excited about the front office operations. I get excited about the back office operations. Thank you, Karen.
Well, if we're awarded the money, we have to submit copies of all the purchase orders, the requisitions, the invoices, the checks. And because of Karin and Mary, they've got all that organized, and we are ready to go. I heard back from the county, we should expect to hear if we've been approved within 24 to 72 hours. So I'm checking my email constantly. And if we are approved, we just have to submit all the electronic documentation that Karin and Mary have got together, and hopefully we'll see a check shortly.
Very good.
And that's really it for my treasurer's report.
Okay, I'd like to go back to Lauren's discussion of extending our lease in over at Randall Oaks. I'd kind of like to get the sense of the board whether we should move forward with that. And they're asking for a letter from us, just asking for an extension, and then we'll work on the terms, and they would be along the terms that we have now currently. So I don't think we need to have an official vote on it because it's not been put on the agenda, but I'd like to get a sense of the board so that we can begin the process and then bring an agreement back. Does anybody have any comments either way on that?
Richard, I'd like to comment. Mike Tennis, I like the flexibility that you referenced in your letter. That way, if some other opportunity comes along, we can seize it and yet provide a reasonable notification, so the park district isn't, caught. I don't want to throw off the park district budget either. So exactly. I like that approach.
I agree.
Anyone else?
Everything
Okay.
Mike said, and I'm relieved as well that we are not losing. As small as it is, I'm so thankful we have it. So.
I am too.
And how well it's utilized. I mean, again, props to the whole staff over there of what they are able to do in that little space. So.
Anyone else?
So I'm also totally in favor. The other thing we had talked about before at one time with referendum strategy was like this idea to pull out of Randall Oaks so there would be no West Side Library, and I hated that idea at the time. So I think that to continue our presence at Randall Oaks does not preclude us from still looking for a more permanent location and eventually going back to referendum. But I don't like this hold a gun to people's head kind of idea at all. So I think to have this as an option to at least continue service on the west side makes all the sense in the world.
Okay, thank you. Well, then we will proceed with that letter of inquiry, and we'll work out the terms, and then we'll come back to the board with a proposal, assuming everything works out. Okay, very good. Moving now to the business of the evening, the consent agenda. Before I ask for a motion on the consent agenda, are there any items any trustee would like left off?
Hold on.
Oh, wait a minute. I think we lost Nikki there for a second.
Sorry. It's having light difficulties. I went into a standing mode and my light had problems. Okay.
Okay. All right, since I heard no exclusions, may I have a motion to approve the consent items A1A through A1J, please?
Mike Tennis, so move.
This is Brian, I'll second.
Okay, Nikki, could we have a roll call vote
Dave is
on the
absent.
consent agenda, please? Items A1A through A1J.
Chris,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Nikki, yes. Christina,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes,
And to clarify, Dave is absent.
Dave's absent. Yes. Okay, moving on, there's no old business, so we'll move on to the new business. Item Exhibit C1, Ordinance 2020-07. May I have a motion to approve Ordinance 2020-07, budget and appropriation, in the amount of $7,472,990 for fiscal 2020 to 2021. May I have such a motion, please?
I move.
Who was that, Christina?
Yeah.
I second it.
Second, please.
Chris second.
Okay. This is the budget and appropriation that we've discussed a few times, and it has been in accordance with the regulations. It's been posted on our website. It's been posted at the library for the required length of time. We've had our hearing, and I think, does anyone have any comments on this before we go to a vote?
Richard, Mike Tennis here.
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
When we approve the tentative budget and appropriation ordinance prior to the public hearing, I did approve, I did vote for that tentative budget and appropriation. Having read now the history of the building and seeing the appropriate, a specific amount of $3 million spelled out for the Dundee Library, I have to ask the question, do we really want to go on record suggesting spending $3 million for the Dundee Library, a 45-year-old building? I didn't realize it was so old.
What would be the alternative?
I would suggest just scaling it back $2 million until we get the, more information as to what the options are. October and November, we'll have more information, but to suggest, I think it sends the wrong signal to commit $3 million in a budget and appropriation ordinance for the Dundee Library improvement.
But if we don't and we want to build, then we don't have the money to do it. Where we don't have to, am I understanding that correctly? We don't have to spend all of it if we budget for it. But if we don't put it in here, this is for an entire year, then we have no other option.
That is correct, but there's no way we would spend $3 million before June 30th of 2021. I mean, even if in October the architect comes here and he says, look at all we can do for $3 million, and the board says, great, let's do it, it still wouldn't be done by June 30th and paid.
Exactly.
That said, just because it's in here doesn't mean we need to spend it either. It's just a placeholder. I mean,
yeah, I don't think it commits us to anything. As you said, Lauren, you're going to come next month with some of the initial proposals from the architects, right?
I don't have any authorization to spend any of that. That all has to come from you. So,
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't think we're committing to anything.
Correct.
Anyone else? Well, I echo the trustees that said this isn't a license strictly to spend. It gives us authorization, and as Lauren pointed out, it's going to be a fairly long-term project. We need to find out, Mike, to your point, the condition of that building, and that's one of the things the architect is ascertaining is the strength of the building itself, because it is some 45 years old. And that's what we hope to hear from him about the integrity of the building and what it would take if there are to make it right.
And I
Anyone
did,
else?
in my director's report, I did mention the engineer's visit, how they would not have designed a building with 12 units on the roof, but they've been maintained so well, they're in great shape. Their general comment was, for a 45-year-old building, the place is really good. They were surprised at the good condition of the building, so that was encouraging.
Oh, that's good.
That's some good news.
Yeah. Anyone else, please? If not, may we have a roll call vote on this?
Chris,
Yes.
Mike,
Nay.
Brian,
Yes.
Nikki, yes, Christina,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes. Okay, Exhibit C2, Election Day Holiday. May I have a motion to close the library on November 3rd, 2020 in accordance with the Public Act 101-0642 and provide holiday pay to benefited staff. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved, Christina.
Second, Chris Evans.
Okay, I have a little additional
Okay,
information.
as we know, November 3rd is Election Day, and in the state of Illinois, that has been declared a holiday, and public buildings are going to be closed. So, Lauren, why don't you pick it up from there and just go over the particulars.
So the governor signed this order saying that all government offices need to be closed, and our attorney and the other big library legal firm, everyone is saying all government offices need to be closed. We don't want to be closed. Election day is a big deal in the library. A lot of people come wanting to know where they go to vote. So, I mean, if the law is we have to close, then we have to close. However, on Friday, on September 11th, I got a letter from our attorney who said, in an effort to clarify the legislature's intent as to what government offices must close, a lawsuit was filed against the State Board of Election in Sangamon County by the Illinois Municipal League, the Village of Bolingbrook, and the Village of Southern View. The attorney for the Illinois Municipal League advised that a decision in the pending lawsuit is expected on October 15th. So we had to, it's later than what the next board packet is due out. So we need to have something on record of what we're going to do from this meeting. So while a decision in the pending lawsuit is binding only to the parties in the lawsuit, the decision would be, quote, persuasive authority applicable to other units of local government. So we could not close if the result of this lawsuit is that it's more narrowly construed. The Illinois Municipal League's position in the lawsuit is that the Illinois legislature's intent was to extend the existing state employees' holiday only to schools and to state universities. So if the way the court case comes out is under the Illinois Municipal League's position that only schools and state universities need to close, and we don't need to close. So I would suggest we amend the motion to read, I move to close the library on November 3rd, 2020 in accordance with Public Act 101-0642 and provide holiday pay to benefited staff unless the case in Sangamon County, Illinois Municipal League v. State Board of Election determines local governments do not need to close.
So move.
Second.
Okay, I'll entertain that amended motion. Mike, did you made that motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Just in terms of additional comment about it, I was very concerned when I heard that basically, this is my interpretation, the governor is giving public sector employees another holiday. And with all the mail-in voting and the early voting and election day voting, I saw no need to allow all public sector workers, while the taxpayers in the private sector are working. You know, there shouldn't be that distinction. When before this.
Mike, I'm not sure this is an appropriate course of conversation. It doesn't really directly apply to what we're doing here.
It does from the point of view of the question, should the library employees be paid if we're closed? And it's only fair that they be paid if it's closed. I just have a problem with the whole concept.
Okay.
So
did someone second that amended motion?
And then seconded by
That was me.
Christina.
Isn't the intent of closing the public buildings sort of to fall in line with the effort to have it be a national holiday eventually? And if that's the case, and that is a bipartisan approach to, I don't see that, I have no problem with it being closed or not closed. And definitely if it's closed, I think the employees have the right to be paid. I feel pretty strongly about that. And I don't see it as just giving them another day off. I see it as an effort to make election days and voting more accessible to everybody.
Other countries do it on the weekend,
That's right.
for example. So
I'm okay with that, but that's not what we do.
for our intent, I am good with the amendment.
I am too.
So can we reread the amended motion, please, just so it's clear?
I move to close the library on November 3rd, 2020, in accordance with Public Act 101-0642, and provide holiday pay to benefited staff unless the case in Sangamon County, Illinois Municipal League v. State Board of Election determines local governments do not need to close.
Okay, just as a point of clarification, is that assumed to be the only lawsuit of any consequence?
According to our attorney, yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Then I would say that the amended motion would be proper. You know, what I'm thinking of is if that one's votes one way and someone else files another lawsuit, and our motion might be worded differently, but if our lawyers are thinking that's the main one that's going to tip the scales,
there were several governments
that
got
okay
involved in the suit, right? So it wasn't just the Illinois Municipal League, it was the Village of Bolingbrook, the Village of Southern View. I mean, other governments might get involved, but it's still the case that's going to be setting precedent for what other governments will follow.
yeah. Well, comments on the amended motion. We heard Mike with his comments. Anyone else? And we heard Chris
And
about her
Nikki.
comments. And Nikki.
And I said, yep, too.
And Christine.
Okay. from my perspective, I think anytime that we close the building for whatever reason, the employees should not be penalized. That was our philosophy with the beginning of this COVID situation, that our employees should not pay the penalty for something beyond their control. So I think it's an appropriate board action, and I support it. So with that, Nikki, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Dave is absent. Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Nikki, yes. Christina?
Yes.
Richard? Richard?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Exhibit C3, property donation, photo reproductions. May I have a motion to move to donate 3 mounted photo reproductions of historic West Dundee and Carpentersville to the Village of Carpentersville? May I have such a motion?
I move. Christina.
Okay.
I second it, Chris.
Okay. This was an item that we originally were going to bring up but as you know, that's when the pandemic broke out and things were pretty much closed at that point. And we've put it on the back burner because the original guidelines that we received were to deal strictly with more or less items that needed immediate action. So we've just put it on the back burner until tonight. We thought it would be an appropriate time to get this thing settled. Lauren, would you just kind of go over the background of this briefly?
Sure. I don't know, for a decade, these pictures have been on loan, maybe longer, to Village of Carpentersville, and every year Karen Worley was keeping track. We had a piece of paper that we would have the mayor of Carpentersville sign saying, yes, we want to check them out for another year. It was time consuming. To the best of our recollection, they've never hung in the Dundee Library. Why we're the owner of them, we were unclear. And so I wanted to go, when I had the form and I needed to get the mayor to sign them, I wanted to see what the pictures actually were. So I drove over to the Carpentersville Public Works building. And I swear they designed that building around these pictures. You walk in the lobby and there's this giant photo that technically belongs to us. The paint colors coordinate with these pictures. Then you go into the public meeting room and that's where they've got the other 2 pictures, and they're beautiful and they completely look like they belong there. And I cannot imagine a world where the library would say, give me our pictures back. So I think we might as well just give them the pictures. They have a use for them. We don't. It's the neighborly thing to do. So I suggest you.
They're really too big to display in our facility, aren't they?
Yes, they are gigantic.
Okay. Any comments from any trustees?
Not at all.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Was that Nikki?
Nikki said no comments. Sounds like
Okay.
a great thing to do.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, may we have a roll call vote on this, please?
Dave is absent. Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Nikki, yes. Christina?
Yes.
And Richard?
Yes. Okay, item C4. We may have a motion to approve the report of the closed session minutes review and the destruction of audio recordings made prior to March 15th, 2019. May I have such a motion, please?
Mike Tennis, so move.
Second? Was that Christina?
Yeah.
Okay. As you know, we're required to do twice a year, a closed session minute review, which we accomplished. And here's our report that was put together by Nikki, listing all the minutes that we have closed and with the recommendation that they remain closed. And notification that we'll be destroying audio recordings made on or before March 15th. As you know, the rule is we must keep them for 18 months. Any discussion on this?
Only thing that comes up.
Hearing none, may I have a...
Hold on, Richard, is the last,
please.
The last four are all about the Dominic's building?
Yes.
Which up until the end of August, when I did, before I did the review, we were keeping it closed. So do we now move to open them or do we leave them closed? Like, I don't know what the appropriate.
Well, at the time we did this review, the intention was to keep them closed pending the outcome.
Correct.
So my suggestion is that we continue voting along the guides of the review, and starting next month we can opening these things up at our next meeting.
Okay.
Any comments on that approach?
Agreed.
Okay, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Dave is still absent. Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Nikki, yes. Christina?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes. Okay, that concludes the business for tonight. There's no need to have a closed session tonight because we're trying to move forward with an extension of our lease at, say again?
We were going to also approve the minutes from the executive session last time because you're supposed to approve them. So do we still want to do that?
My thought on that is we would do that at the next meeting where we actually have a closed session for some other business.
Works for me.
Rather than just have a closed session for that.
Okay.
Does anybody disagree with that? Okay, so with that in mind, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mike Tennis, so move.
Second,
Nikki,
please.
second. Nikki will second.
Okay, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Dave is absent. Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Nikki, yes. Christina?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes. We are now adjourned at 8:15.
Whoa.